Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Human Rights Commission regular meeting. Today is Monday, December the 11th, 2023. It is 5:30. And I would like to call this meeting to order. Jake, would you please roll call?
Commissioner Flood. Present. Commissioner Cleary. Commissioner Ramaram. Commissioner Rinky.
Here.
Commissioner Horn.
Present.
Commissioner Greer.
Here.
Commissioner Rimas. Vice Chair Vignola.
I'm present.
Chair Loyola.
Here.
Student Representative Hannah.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome, everyone. Okay. So the next item in the agenda, we're going to start off by a presentation of human rights as it relates to human services and lessons from the West Hollywood Human Service Commission by Commissioner Michael M.J. Horn. Commissioner Horn, go ahead.
Thank you, Hugo. So, I had thought about, a Human Services Commission, which I chaired for many years in West Hollywood, in which we would review 501c3s that the city of West Hollywood would fund. And there are a lot of them in the city of West Hollywood and a lot of them in Los Angeles. And I thought, this might be a component that Human Rights Commission might consider in getting to know the services that are provided in Palm Springs. I was not aware of how many of these 501c3s the city of Palm Springs funded. Apparently not very many. So a lot of the 501c3s are operating on their own financial fundraisers and money that they get from donations, or from perhaps the state or the feds. So I'm not sure whether this component would fit well within our commission, only because there's not a lot of 501c3s that the city directly funds. But at the same time, I thought, well, maybe we could invite executive directors or their deputies to explain to us the services that they provide, and for us to get to know better what the city is composed of. Different minority groups, different medical institutions. So that was my idea. I had thought of maybe getting in touch with the city of West Hollywood and finding out the structure of the 501c3s there. But I don't, in researching it, it doesn't seem like it fits necessarily into our mission, but it might. And so I brought it to the attention of the commission to find out if there's any interest of maybe forming a task force, and having different 501c3s come and explain what their organizations are.
Mhm.
So, yes.
I'm not cola.
All right. So we could
Can I ask a
probably,
question?
yeah.
Yes.
The Human Services, the Human Services Commission that you were, I guess, a member of in West Hollywood, did it have any ability to make recommendations to the West Hollywood Council? Or did it have any review authority of things coming before the council? And what was your charter and how did you execute it?
Okay, I don't have the copy of the charter. I would be happy to research it some more if you so.
The Human
But
Services.
basically, the Human Services Commission would review once a year, the 501c3s that are applying to the city of West Hollywood for funds. And these are different AIDS organizations and Russian immigrant organizations. So, and then we would make recommendations to the council with the help of staff. Because all these organizations, there were probably 30, if I recall correctly, or more, would be requesting funds. And so we would review the amount of money that they were requesting, discuss it, and then make a recommendation to council.
Do the requests for funds come to the Human Services Commission first, or did it go to the city of West Hollywood?
It actually would
Who
go to
referred
staff.
it to the commission?
It would go to staff first. It would go to staff first, and then staff would bring it to us, and then we would have
Okay,
a day of all these organizations coming and requesting the funds and explaining
do
why.
you know if, not meaning to monopolize, but do you know if that function where the council of West, or city council of West Hollywood would refer to the Human Service Commission request for funding by a 501c3, was that statutorily required? Or was that something that the city council of West Hollywood decided on its own would be a good thing to do? Or how did?
That's a good question, and I don't know how to
Yeah.
answer it, but I can look into it, if you'd like.
No, I'm just curious because I think it's a great idea. I just don't know that the city council of Palm Springs, based on my understanding of past funding proposals, have ever sent something to the Human Rights Commission
Right.
for review.
And there's only two,
And I don't
as
know
far
if
as I
they
can
would,
see.
I don't know what would ever precipitate them for doing that. You know, there's no, I don't believe any statutory requirement, no process in place.
Well, from the Palm Springs point of view, I don't know that there's any funding that the city council designates or is on the budget for 501(c)(3)s.
So you probably received in the pocket for this meeting, copies of the staff reports. And you would have seen a number of projects that the city funded, including, living wages for, LGBTQ individuals that were granted to Queer Works and DAP Health, which together as 501(c)(3)s applied for these funds. And yes, the commission was involved in reviewing the process and providing some feedback. But again, at the end of the day, it was the city council who, after collecting all the information, provided the funds. And that's probably the purpose of having all those staff, reports to illustrate, over the past year or so, which organizations have received, public funds.
As far as I can see from here, it's the queer, there's two, there's Martha's
Village.
Village in 2022,
Mhm.
and there's, the other one is, Queer Works
Mhm.
in that's 2022, Martha's is 20. Hold on. It's the One United,
Right.
Mhm.
and that's 2022 as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So there's not a lot of organizations.
correct. But that, these would be examples of organizations that applied for and received, public funds for.
Those
Commissioner
are,
Green.
these are very major, supports. So the city also does, some smaller programs where you can get a grant for 5,000 or 10,000 that goes to more, of the NGOs throughout town. They can apply for that for an event or for something for support. Additionally, there's the community development block grants that come through every year. And those go to about 30 different groups based on either social programs or on capital programs. and you apply for those and go through the process. So there are more than just these major groups. DAP is always, every year gets a huge amount of funding, for whatever they're doing. And of course, lately, the homeless, of course, also have had major funding. But there are these smaller chunks that do support a lot of the NGOs throughout town. You'd have to do a little more digging to find out who those are, but, my organization has benefited from them over the years, numerous times.
I'd just like to add that, the J Commission has awarded $500,000 to Mizell to be able to purchase or refurbish a commercial kitchen,
Mhm.
but that was for a specific commission.
But to the best of my knowledge, for the time I've sat on this commission, the council has never asked the Human Rights Commission to review a proposal or provide any comment to the council on
So
the
let me
merits
ask-
of the proposal.
Do we need to do that? Or can
Well, I
we
don't know
just-
that there's a mechanism for us to do it. And of course, if you receive the agendas for the city council meetings and you see an item come up for discussion, you can submit comments or appear before the council as an individual. But we don't have a mechanism for reviewing a proposal like the QueerWorks one. We did have a presentation by the executive director, but we weren't, and correct me if I'm wrong, we weren't tasked with sending through either Jay or anyone our comments to the council on whether that proposal should be funded or not. The council could in fact decide on its own to fund it.
So instead of taking anything to council, my question is, would we be interested in entertaining, executive directors that would just educate us as to their services?
But to what
So, Michael-
purpose, to what purpose would you want that? I mean, we had QueerWorks executive director come in and educate us.
Yeah.
But we never did anything with the information. So we can have as many presentations by as
No,
many
but it-
501c3s as we want. But if we're not gonna do anything with the information, what is the value of it?
So respectfully, Vice Chair Vino, we also had, the Transgender Community Center come and present to us. And as a result of that, we did engage in attending, the vigil and, other activities with them. So there is some actions.
But nothing that we do with the council in terms of reviewing the merits of funding requests. That's my
Right, so
point.
that's a very specific
If I
point.
may comment, and I'm speaking for you here, you tell me if I'm wrong, but what I think that you're asking us is this a function that we feel is something, that it's a function that you did in West Hollywood that you felt was valuable, and is it something that we should promote here and perhaps even talk to the council and say, look, this is a function we would like to perform? And I think isn't that what you're asking?
I'm asking, yeah, and I'm asking everybody if they're interested in pursuing any of this or not. I mean,
Mhm.
I have a question, I'm just looking at the amount of money out of the budget that is going to help these various, startups, these various programs, QueerWorks, WOU. I was wondering who monitors the grants and how the money is spent.
So that's a very good question, Carla.
Don't even open that can of worms.
And that's a very good question. My understanding is the funds from the city have been dispersed. And again, the application for that particular grant from the city came from QueerWorks and DAP Health. They both applied together to get access to those funds, and they will, and Jerry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They
Yeah.
both were able to get the funds and administer the funds.
That's correct. And these are, as Commissioner Greer is pointing out, these are larger scale type of projects, obviously. But as far as monitoring goes, usually the department that brings forward the recommendation ends up monitoring for all the compliance and other requirements. And it could be any number of departments, as you mentioned, Measure J Commission has sponsored some improvements. Excuse me, and, you know, that comes out of the engineering department typically, engineering/finance, I should say. So, that's, you know, one avenue, but, Commissioner Warren, you know, one thing I neglected was the events and sponsorships, which the city does have. So every year, the city council allocates, it could be, $500,000 to $750,000 for events and sponsorships. So when groups approach the city, they can request that. And, those don't necessarily come to they don't come to the Human Rights Commission. Those are reviewed by, I believe, the city manager's office, for, consideration. So that's the events and sponsorships. Commissioner Greer, what the city did with its community development block grant funds was, directed them towards physical improvements of the city. So they got away from using those funds to sponsor nonprofit organizations, but as you noted, there's still the events and sponsorships. So the CDBG funds are actually now allocated for a residential rehabilitation program, which has been really doing well and helping a lot of low income residents with necessary housing improvements. So I think those are some important considerations. I would also add, the city council did ask for input, not for funding, but for policy decisions on the housing element and on the smoking initiative, the smoking rights initiative. So they did ask for input from the Human Rights Commission on that. So it did come from the city council, went to the city council first, then city council said, let's see what Human Rights Commission has to say about this.
So there's precedent, Commissioner Wong, but I completely agree with everyone that we definitely should consider submitting a request to city council that when these proposals from non-for-profit organizations come, maybe there's a component of human rights that we need to look into, and that they would ask for feedback before the decision is made. Nevertheless, knowing that the decision is the council to make, and that we as commission would be simply reviewing information and then collectively working together, maybe as an ad hoc committee, to review the proposal and then provide our thoughts and possibly some recommendations. And that is entirely within the realms of the directive of the commission, and it is stated in our goals, in our mission, right? So maybe this is definitely one of those action items that we could agendize, Jay, to make sure that it really gets to city council as commission. We would love to get more involved in these projects and see what kinds of feedback the commission could provide to council and recommendations, not just feedback, but recommendations as well.
But what are we asking to agendize? I'm confused. What would it take for the city council to send to the Human Rights Commission any proposals for funding of 501c3 organization projects for discussion and comment by the Human Rights Commission before action is taken by the council? Would that just be go through the city manager or directly to the city council?
It just really depends. I
How do
mean, the funding comes from several different sources, several different departments. So now imagine a Measure J proposal to assist a nonprofit with their facility, which is being managed by the engineering or finance department, would now have to come through Human Rights Commission. You know, it's, I guess. It's at what point is the decision made to proceed with funding? So that's one thing. We staff get involved with how much funding is appropriate. So if there's a policy decision, usually, you know, usually happens at the city council level to provide financial support.
No, I understand. I guess what I'm asking is how could we convey to the city council our desire to be more engaged in the city's review of very specific types of proposals? We could establish some boundaries, so we could say we're only interested in proposals that are being made for funding if they're coming from a 501c3. We're only interested in reviewing proposals if there's some element of the work, the outcome from the proposal would enhance human rights in the city of Palm Springs.
If I may, okay, the genesis of this was, I was channeling our chair, Hugo, in his quest to make the Human Rights Commission more visible to the city. And so in taking that, I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to engage with council on the one hand, and on the other hand, make us stand out a little bit.
So maybe, and this is entirely with what we discussed in that particular point, so maybe what we ask the council is that we might create a very simple checklist of things that we would say, if a proposal for funding meets this types of criteria that has a Human Rights Commission angle, please get us involved.
Well, we have to
Exactly.
be very careful that we add value and not just slow down the
Yes,
process.
because this is not about adding red tape,
That's,
right?
you know, that's.
And we're not budgets, we're not finance,
No.
we're not any of that, we're human rights. So we have to keep that in mind, and so maybe the ask to council is, when you're reviewing these proposals for funding from 501c3s, if any of these boxes tick that have a human rights component, please consider to get us involved so that we can participate and provide feedback and recommendations, not knowing that the decision is not ours to make. But that hopefully that feedback and that those recommendations don't fall on the table, because that's what we are chartered to do, is to provide recommendations to council, right?
I just have a question, maybe some further research to better understand how this stream of funding, how it comes to being and how the projects are prioritized. I realize there's a political component to that, but just sort of a better understanding, because some of these have like multiple foundations that are helping the 501(c)(3)s. And so they're asking for a portion, from what I can read, they're asking for a portion of support from the city. And, and that's totally legitimate, but just to sort of understand, what kind of lens about this information is going to the city council.
Maybe perhaps, Carlotta, we could invite the city manager to explain to us this, your point about reviewing how funding comes to be. Is that?
Well, I think that would be reasonable.
Good luck with that.
And, Scott Stiles, he comes to Palm Springs one.
I mean, the
One Palm Springs.
proposal goes to council for funding. It gets either sent to the city staff for analysis. The city staff does an analysis, they then present a recommendation to the council to either approve, modify, or reject.
Well, what goes
So-
into that analysis?
Well, you'd have to ask the city staff, and Jay is a city staff person, and he gets many proposals under his purview and is tasked by the council to do an analysis. He and his staff do the analysis and then issue a staff report that goes back to council with a recommendation. So, I mean, it's not that not that complicated, there's lots of steps. But I
No,
think for
I'm
us
just
to be able
talking
to
about
weigh
content,
in,
not Structure.
Hmm?
I was talking about asking for content, not necessarily structure, but anyhow.
okay, well,
Yeah,
I still think it would be, I don't know how we could ask. As the chair articulated. How we can become more engaged, I don't know how to make that ask, is that an Jay communicates to the city council or city manager, or does the chair have to write a
It would
letter
start with
to
the
this?
city manager. And most likely the staff that currently reviews the events and sponsorships applications, and it would really be their determination on where that value might be added, and possibly if the city council thinks there's value and says we should do that, then that's another avenue. So it's a couple different ways, but from my position, I would start with the city manager.
Okay, so maybe the action is really to request a meeting with the city manager. And maybe we do this
Try.
through
Yeah.
through the executive committee first. With a very specific,
Can the
with a very
commission
specific-
ask a meeting with the city manager, or does that have to go through you, Jay?
It should go through me, but I just wanna be careful about if it's gonna be a Brown Act meeting or just a small group of commissioners.
okay, so maybe,
I have
so,
a
yes, go ahead.
comment. I want to sort of reiterate what Commissioner Good sort of alluded to. We have to be clear that when you start talking about funding, we don't want to have a stumbling block to worthy organizations out there that are getting it. It's already streamlined, and we have to be clear that we just want to be aware of things. We can't get our hands in something that's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. So Jake, following on that, last few comments, maybe the executive committee gets coffee with the city manager to discuss how the commission could be better used to serve the purposes of reviewing and then providing feedback and recommendations to proposals that have a human rights component attached to it.
Yeah, I think that says it well. You go, that you are really making a focus on determining what we can add to this and not deter.
Right.
Its added value is not deterrence, and it's definitely not creating more red tape. But we cannot derail funding for projects that are already streamlined. Because the city needs it. So if we're in agreement with this, thank you very much, Commissioner Horn, for that presentation. A really good discussion.
thank you.
Excellent. We're gonna move on to item 5 in the agenda, which is the acceptance of this agenda. Do I have do we have a motion to accept the agenda as it stands?
I move,
So we have
I'll second.
Commissioner Rinke move and Vice Chair Vignolo second. So the agenda is accepted as it stands.
What do we vote on the acceptance?
Let's go vote. Everyone in favor, say aye, raise your hand for the record. Commissioner Rimas is on Skype.
Aye.
Oh, there we go.
Welcome, Commissioner Rimas. Jay, did you get that?
Yes,
Perfect.
motion approved.
Okay, motion is approved. Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to item 6, which is public comments. We have some public comments been submitted. And so who do we invite first?
Mr. Zachary Daniel Stone, please.
Please step to the microphone. For Mr. Stone to come into the microphone, I want to remind the public and all of our commissioners that this is a time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Human Rights Commission on agenda items. and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. That 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. Although action on items is not listed, although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during commission comments may refer to the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. Welcome, and please state, open your mic and please state your name for the public record.
All right, name is Zachary Daniel Stone. All right,
Thank you, welcome.
and we'll start. Oh, hold on a minute. There we go. All right, so there's gotta be some mechanism to help with the funding situation. Like there's best practice out there. There's plenty of cities that do this where they have commissions that review it before city council gets their hands on it. Like this stuff is so simple. If you study government, you know government, there's an example out there. There's a best practice. So if you wanna work with me, I'll actually find one. I'll find one from reputable think tank. We'll look at it and go, hey, look, city council, you can do something. So, you know, that's part of the job is oversight and accountability. If you have a commission, you need to be able to use it. Okay, so a little bit here, got Robert Rules of Order, just in case, as always, when I show up to these things. Have a book here from the library today, it's where I was at. It's called Stamped from the Beginning, A Graphic History of Racist Ideas in America. Pretty cool. Well, I'll make sure I get the camera. C, Gaslit Nation, Dictatorship. It's easier than you think. Very, very true. Colin Kaepernick here, Change the Game, a graphic novel. Another great one. This was really cool when I saw this one come out. This is a graphic novel, The Prophet. This just came out, which is super cool. And finally, what I really feel is going on here in this whole world, at least here in Coachella Valley, this is called Lunatic Express. Discovering the world via its most dangerous buses, boats, trains, and planes. And I saw just Lunatic Express and it spoke to me today in general. And I said, oh man, I gotta pick this book up. Don't know if it's any good or not, but I loved it. At least the title. Got the American Heritage Dictionary Thesaurus right here. See how much time I got to actually launch into what I'm here for. The word stupid is an actual word. It's spelled S-T-O-O-P-E-D. People forget that. There's a word called stupid, S-T-U-P-I-D. You know, I don't know exactly how to explain that to people, but there's not that many dictionaries that have the third definition or fourth definition for stupid, S-T-O-O-P-E-D. There's a 3A and B, as well as a 4, to lower or debase oneself or to condescend. I mean, it's a great word. I triggered somebody earlier. Well, was it last week with it? Yeah. It was amazing. All right, here's what we're down to. Rent commission. You need to ask city council to do the rent commission. It is chartered. It is literally in the city charter. There's not a reason in the world that they haven't appointed people to the rent commission. This is beyond madness that this is not. It is literally in the charter, the city charter. So we need somebody to look into this. Human rights. I emailed Jay to get on the agenda for this. I've got some issues that I'd like to bring up. Jay did not respond. That was 2 weeks ago. I don't know how I can get Jay to respond to me as an individual to get on here as far as to bring forward and say, hey, I have some concerns that are going on. What can I do? So there's an issue. I don't know how you would address that with Jay, but you know, Jay, I don't know why you didn't respond. I've got more, but that's my time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone, for your public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another public comment submitted.
Just observing, I think.
Observer, okay. Anyone on the Zoom? So having heard none, we're gonna move on to the agenda. And so this is the time where I would like to make some brief comments, and I wanna start by saying thanks to everyone in the commission for participating in what's gonna be coming up next, which is the Human Rights Commission Community Awards, and that was a really fun project. We're gonna talk about that in just a few minutes. Also, to remind everyone that as we get close to the end of the year, There are a couple of items in our calendar, and we will talk about those events coming up as well. But again, just to remind everyone that as we go through the process of reviewing our policies and procedures, your participation is really critical and very crucial. So when we ask you to provide feedback, it's going to be very, very important so that we can finalize this work and get those, policies and procedures revised, updated, and then released for public consumption. That's going to be a very important part of starting our year, with the right foot. So those are my comments for today. We're gonna move on to item 8, which is the approval of minutes for November 13, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for November 13, 2023 by any commissioner?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Ramos,
I'll second.
and then we have Commissioner Flood seconding that. We're gonna take a vote. Those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Do we have discussion?
Okay, so we're gonna enter discussion. Vice Chair,
So before we take a vote on whether to approve the November 13, right, minutes, I just need to get clarification on the, where we stand with, in responding to the written public comments that Jay forwarded to all commissioners that were received, it looks like on Sunday, December 10th at 10:50 from a Doug Evans, where he raised the issue with the accuracy of the minutes and whether they properly reflected public comments. So I would ask for Jay to clarify whether, I know it's challenging to produce minutes, I've done it before, but I guess we need to not ignore this public comment that says, hey, why are we not accurately reflecting what the public comments are during our regular meeting?
Commissioners, in 2021, the city council adopted using something called action minutes to reflect what the written record of the meetings, because at that time, most of the meetings were being recorded anyway, so the details are available. So I posed that question to the city clerk. What is required in action minutes? Those are supposed to be just a recording of the actions taken at a meeting. I received a few different documents, which I will have to review in terms of, and I don't know that they go into the specificity of the statements made by people making public comment, but I will check that out. I've seen where some city council agendas have just listed the speakers, but I do want to take a closer look at that and see the language that may have preceded that, so. I don't yet have, that absolute, answer. I don't know that I will get the absolute answer, but, that is the investigation that is going on to make sure the record is accurate.
Okay, so Jay, could we then ask if you could provide an update in our January meeting as to give the findings of your ask?
Yes.
Because I think that's very relevant. And maybe that's one of the agenda items.
And as part of that, Jay, could you educate us on what the city council's position is on amending minutes once they're approved? Can they be amended if additional information,
Yeah, I believe they can be.
they can be amended
Yes.
Yeah, because we passed in the past when there was
after they've
inaccuracies.
been approved? Can they
I would think so.
still can amend it, go back and amend the previous?
Oh,
Okay.
And we can always approve them pending those reviews that can then follow up on the next meeting. Cause I remember a couple of misspellings and typos in minutes that we asked to get amended, and they did get amended. Like the spelling of a commissioner's last name. Yeah, that comes to mind. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up, so I don't,
Okay.
know if that changes anyone's opinion, whether we should approve or these minutes or.
Okay.
not, but
So with that in mind, let's take a vote. Those in favor to approving the minutes for the meeting in November 13, 2023, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
For the record. Okay. So do we have an approval, Jay? By consensus?
Yes, we have 6 in favor.
Okay.
Can you record me as a abstention on that, please?
Very well.
Thank you, Jay. Okay. The next item on our agenda is item number 9, which is items for discussion and action. And the first 9A is committee and liaison reports, starting with the executive report standing committee by myself, Vice Chair Vignolo, and Commissioner Greer. And then the first item is that we have scheduled our next meeting for the executive committee on Thursday, December 28, 2023 at 10 a.m. via Zoom. And I will open up to Commissioner Greer and Vignolo if you want to provide a little update on our executive committee meetings. Anything you would like to add? So
I
far,
think they're going really well.
so far, so good. Just, I guess, the only thing I would like to add is that we invite all of our commissioners to submit items for us to consider in the inclusion of our next meeting agenda by these executive committee meetings, so that we have an opportunity to look at them, discuss them, look at the merits, and then make a recommendation to get them included in the agenda. So reminder, agenda items that are not included in the agenda 72 hours prior to making the agenda public will not be included in the agenda. So if you really feel that you want to see something included in the agenda, in addition to this particular forum of our meetings, they need to be brought to our attention, hopefully by when we have those executive committee meetings, and then we'll make sure that we consider to include them, okay? That includes presentations, items for discussion, items for voting, whatever you would like to bring to our attention. So yes, great meetings. Thank you so much for that. We're gonna move on to something very fun, which we do every year, which is the Community Service Awards. And I would like everyone to know that we received a substantial number of applications and submission forms for recognition of community service awards this year. It was very good to see that number of people submitting applications. And the executive committee met to review the submission forms. We looked at them from various angles, including if this is self-serving nomination, and therefore not to be considered. We also asked questions about the merits of what it was being presented, and really on merits, you were all provided with what we call this document, the Community Service Award Ad Hoc Committee 2024 slate of honorees for endorsement. Before we go into the vote or any additional discussion, I would like to remind everyone that because these nominees still need to be contacted and we need to get their verbal confirmation or maybe even written confirmation that they will accept our nomination and they will accept the award, this information should not be made public. Okay, So it's very important that we keep this entirely close to the chest until the information becomes public. Therefore, provides everyone the opportunity to talk, celebrate, share with the public, when the nominees have accepted. So we're gonna move on to the approval recommending the award recipients for the 2023 community service requirements motion required. So we're gonna have to go into a motion. And maybe the way to do this is I'm having a little senior moment. And I don't recall if last year we did individually or we did this as a group. So what I would like to suggest is that if any commissioner has any reservations about the merits of the nominees that we have submitted for approval, that you go into the public record and you mention that you have reservations about the nominee number. And notice that we carefully did this nominee number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And we didn't actually use the nominees' names to keep the privacy aspect. It's the link. So I will just open it up to the commissioners, and if you want to go onto the public record and state your case about any nominee you feel does not have the merits for receiving the award, this is your chance.
Hugo, can you just, explain who was on the ad hoc committee for the community service awards?
So it was the executive committee, which would include, Commissioners Vignolo, Commissioner Greer, and myself.
Thank you.
And we have our staff liaison, Jay, join us as well, to provide excellent background on the process. So, anyone would like to go on the public to say that any of these nominations does not meet your criteria for, merits to receive the award? Having heard none, I would like to then open up for a vote. Maybe my first, no, we need a nomination, motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the slate
Let's like,
of nominees en masse.
Yeah.
I just need a second and then we can.
And so we need a second. So we have a first by Vice Chair Vignolo, and we have a second by Commissioner Horn. Now let's take a vote. Those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Is it aye?
so we're gonna capture that vote. And so the slate of honorees for endorsement has been approved. I need to now let you all know that what's going to happen is that we at the executive committee are going to be contacting these nominees to let them know that they have been selected to receive the award and to get that verbal, hopefully also written approval that they will accept the award. And that hopefully, the process will be quick so that the city can make this information public and everyone can start celebrating. The awards will be presented to the honorees in our standard meeting on February, what's the date?
Oh.
February,
14th, right?
February,
What was the award ceremony?
the February the 12th. And the ceremony takes place at the city council chambers. So it's the building adjacent to us. The public is invited to attend. There will be media coverage and, we're still, getting confirmation about an honorary, award dinner that is being provided by a previous honoree. As soon as that information is being confirmed, we will be shared with the rest of the commission. So that's really cool. And I hope you'll enjoy that particular event. It's really wonderful. Okay?
Can I just ask?
Mhm.
um, since it's fresh in our mind, this is not pertain to this year's recipients or nominees, I should say. But I maybe suggest that in the next 11 months or 10 months, the commission might want to consider reviewing the criteria used for determining recipients of the community service awards in the process, and maybe make improvements to it or changes to it. I mean, I don't know who developed the criteria. I know it's been in use during my terms on this commission, but we may want to just revisit it and see if we want to make any changes to either the criteria or the process used. So I don't know if we want to maybe think about it and then in 6 months, maybe put it on the agenda for discussion.
So based on that comment, what I would say is that when you feel that we should start that process, just make a motion as commissioner and we'll make it into the agenda for discussion, and we can look very specifically at the process and make recommendations.
I think that would be a really suitable topic for an ad hoc, for an ad hoc committee to look at. Of commissioners that would be particularly interested in that area. We did find the process to be kind of too open-ended for when we were reviewing these, being new to the review process. And I think the three of us felt that it did need to be either more directed or something that would, that would also enhance the value of the award itself. And I think that's an important factor. Again, trying to make sure that the Human Rights Commission is relevant and that it is considered to add value to everything that we do in Palm Springs.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So an ad hoc committee, maybe if any of you are interested, if you contact Hugo and say,
Yeah.
I think this is a really important thing the Human Rights Commission does, and I'd like to be part of looking at it.
Yeah.
Please notify him.
And one way to do this is when we get to the end of one of our agendas, when we have commissioners' comments, you can introduce the item to the agenda so that we can then put it in our agendas, discuss it, and then come out with some action steps. Yeah. Great. So item 9A2, the PSPD LGBT outreach liaison report. The only thing I'd like to add to this, it is very brief, is that one of my personal, close friends and colleagues' home was vandalized. We did share photos of the act. Unfortunately, it wasn't the only vandalism act reported this month. So I just want everyone to be vigilant and I guess, understand that this is increasing. And, we live in a wonderful community, which is considered by many like a bubble, safety bubble in many ways. So, hopefully, we won't see many of these acts being committed in the future, but if you hear any of your friends or any of your colleagues experiencing acts of either speech or acts of violence, make sure to report it to the police department. And there is a phone line to report acts that may not be emergencies, but they fall into the category of, I just saw this and I like to report it. I don't have the number on the top of my head, but we can make sure that we share it with the commission at large. If you hear anything, if you see anything, please report it to the police. Okay? We're gonna move on to the master calendar. Vice Chair Vignola, could you lead this for us, please?
Sure. So my first report is on the certified farmers market participation. I did speak to the person in charge a couple of weeks ago, and they have no issues with us participating. It's fairly simple. All we have to basically do is let them know when we want to start. And we have the table, we have the canopy, because it's during the day from 8 AM till noon or 1. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's 1 o'clock.
So it is during the day, so they do highly recommend that you have a canopy, and it's at the parking lot at the cultural center off of on Baristo. So because that can get windy during the day, they also strongly recommend that we have weights. So that's something we would have to purchase so that the canopy doesn't collapse if the wind picks up. That shouldn't be too expensive, but so we can, if the commission wants to proceed with participating at the certified farmers market. I don't think we have to, I don't know if we have to vote on it. We could, then it won't matter, but I mean, if you want to, we can, just to be absolutely clear, but of course, I don't wanna go forward with that until we get, again, a commitment from commissioners that someone other than myself will show up Saturday mornings. And so how many Saturday mornings do you want to be, go there? That's all up for discussion. Any thoughts? They have them every Saturday, right? So,
Do we wanna start with like once a month and then increase?
sure.
Can we go shopping if we're sitting?
You mean buy, or you can do your shopping while you're there. I would like to have, I think it would be nice to have 2 of us at the table. That most other organizations that are not selling organic food or products have 2. And we would be pretty much right at the front. That's where they put organizations that are not vendors. So as you're walking into the market, you would pass our table right at the very front after you enter the parking lot. So yeah, we could start with 1 Saturday and see how it goes and add additional ones, so.
So you're looking at Saturday, the 6th of January, right? That's the.
Yeah, I figured there was no point in starting in December, we could wait till, Saturday. So I just put on the calendar January 2024, every other Saturday. We could pick either the 6th or the 20th and try it for January and see what kind of response we get.
I mean, if we do the 6th, I will be on winter break at that point. So it'd be a lot, like, I would like to participate, it'd be a lot easier if we do it the 6th. I know a lot of people have holidays right around there, especially with the New Year's, but I can commit to the 6th.
Yeah, I would be interested.
In which, the 6th or the 20th, are we doing 1 or 2?
I would suggest to start with 1 per Michael's suggestion and see how it goes. And so I would be willing to do the 6th.
So you and Lily? Okay, and if it works well, we can do the 20th. Are you available on the 20th? And I'm available on the 20th, so, okay. Good enough. I will let them know that the 2 of you will be there. I can meet you, I think, on the 6th, and we can help you get set up. And then come back and break it down.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to do the 6th. I can do the 20th, but not the 6th. Yeah. I have a board meeting early in the morning.
Anybody else can
I
do
can
the
do the
6th?
20, oh,
All right,
I don't know about this. I can do the 20.
I
I
can do
can't
it,
do
yeah.
the 6th.
I can still do the 20th,
I can too.
I just don't really want
So
it.
let's do the 20th. Either 2, 4 of us, or some number of commissioners will show up on the 20th. It sounds like there's more of us available on January 20th. It gives me a little extra time to buy the weights, so we don't blow away or kill somebody.
And
Yeah,
gotta
but
wait.
putting down the tarp and then two commissioners running.
Don't
the
take down
table.
people.
All right, so I'll revise the calendar, I'll take off the sixth, we'll go with the first occurrence being on January 20th. We probably need to get there by 7:30 AM to set it up. It starts at 8 to 1 and then break it down. I'll let her know,
Mhm.
and then we can talk about February. January.
That's really cool. Excellent.
The only other thing I had was the February,
but before you go to February, so the 8th of January is our regular HRC regular meeting.
That's my first day of school.
So it's missing. I just wanted to point it out so that we can include it in the agenda as you revise it.
that's fine, I can add it.
That's great. So then February, that's important as well. Things are starting to pick up for other things.
Well, let's look at January, actually, I see that on the 13th, there's this Martin Luther King Jr. Youth Basketball Classic. I think this was an event being sponsored by the Desert Highland Gateway Association or. So I don't know that. We have a role, but I don't know if we wanna at least make an appearance, if any commissioners can go there to Demuth Community Center on the 13th, that's, you know,
And those events tend to be a lot of fun.
there's also this celebration in La Quinta, but, I don't know, do we need to do anything for Martin Luther King Jr. Day? Do we wanna do anything? Do we wanna say anything on the 8th or acknowledge the holiday?
We can make a statement from our commission on the 8th. Looking forward to Martin Luther King Day.
Was it January 8th?
Yeah.
We wanna talk about February?
Yes,
February, there's more involvement, I think, the Palm Springs Black History Committee's 14th Annual Awards Gala is on Saturday the 3rd. Of course, last year we were recipients of one of their awards, but I don't know if any of us are planning on attending or purchasing tickets to that event. Probably not a bad thing to do.
Mhm. So, yeah, for that particular event, if you are planning to get together and we can kind of see how many of us could make it. If we could figure it out, the number, maybe we can buy the tickets together and sit together on the table. It's a really nice event, it's very well attended. It's an opportunity to engage, with our African American community. I don't remember.
What day?
They were
So-
expensive for me.
Yeah, so just let us know, I mean, this is February the 3rd, we're still some time away. You might, let us know, perhaps via Jay, to say, hey, I really would like to do this and figure out the number. But even if you don't do it, if you wanna do it on your own, and just be there with your family, you're perfectly welcome to go purchase tickets and attend the event, it's worth it.
I'm confused, is this, there's a parade, right?
Okay, so we haven't gotten there yet.
Haven't gotten it.
Okay,
We're looking at Saturday the 3rd, Michael, in your calendar. Michael,
For February.
Saturday the 3rd is the awards gala at Margaritaville,
The 3rd of February.
the 3rd of February, yeah.
oh, the third,
Then we're gonna talk about the parade, and the parade takes place on the 24th. And that was one of the items here, the 24th. Last year, we did register as a commission, and then we did march as commission. In the parade, and it is another fun parade to take part. So everyone is welcome to join. I think the point here is we are going to register our commission. And hopefully many of you can join with family and friends. It's a really fun parade.
I should be able to do these things,
Mhm.
not too sure. It's my senior year, so starting next semester. Events all the time,
Yeah.
so hopefully.
So let's figure out how many of us can do it, maybe by the 8th of January, or maybe because we won't have time on the twelfth, but this is our award ceremony. But again, you're all welcome to join that parade. Of course, our ceremony awards is on the twelfth
Mhm.
at the city council chambers, as we mentioned before. And I know this is part of the reports. Commissioner Horn, Organized Neighborhoods of Palm Springs Liaison, which is one PS membership. Do you have anything to report?
Well, sure, Economic, Development Committee, the business retention meeting, Jay was there, and it was a little bit, it was a little awkward because I was representing the commission, but I'm also a businessman, and we were talking about the Sunny Dunes, business, we're trying to get a business designation for Sunny Dunes. So I didn't say anything about the commission, I said nothing, because it wasn't my place to do it. The important thing about this meeting was the introduction of Dean Grubel, who is now the Director of Business Administration. It's an important position for businesses. He's gonna visit businesses and I think the main issue is the parades that Palm Springs puts on, the various ones that disrupt businesses. And they do, and there was a serious traffic situation going on Sunny Dunes with I think it was the parade of lights, where, there was a lot of disruption in traffic. So if we close down the 111, it creates havoc. So the city, I think, Jay, I think the city just said that they were gonna look into it, into the different traffic mitigations.
So there's a team on city staff that reviews plans for events. It's called Special Event Project Team SEPT. So they're gonna take a look at it, meet with the organizers and try to figure out, traffic wise, what might work better, and just kind of coordinate the event, and traffic as best they can.
Okay. And that's about it. I mean, if I continue going to these meetings, I don't know if I should represent the commission or not. I mean, I could just wear the badge but I'm involved more in the business aspect of it, so.
Now, is this One Palm Springs we're talking about?
One PS.
1 p.m.
One
sorry?
PS,
Yes, it's one PS, it's one Palm Springs.
So,
Michael.
you thought that I was gonna be designated as that individual.
You can both
Represent-
go,
okay,
you can
okay,
both go to
yeah,
these
yeah.
things, nothing prevents you from going to these
Okay,
things.
but as a representative of the HRC,
So, for clarification, when you're at these events, obviously as part of the public, you could be there. If you're gonna be wearing your badge and if you're gonna be speaking on behalf of the commission, the only ask is that you don't make general flag statements saying the commission this or the commission that. And you go on record as, you know, I'm an individual and these are my comments. And then, of course, you know, you just take notes or mental notes or things like that, and you come back and report to the commission. Right?
and I do have notes.
That's wonderful, yeah.
Ready to report.
So if you wanna share that, you can always bring it back and we can give you the form to share them, yeah.
To clarify, the meeting Commissioner Horn was discussing was not the one PS meeting, that was the, business retention and economic
So
development.
that's a different event.
Oh, okay.
So that's a different
Sorry
event,
about
Mike.
that.
A lot of them.
But they did mention at the One Palm Springs meeting, the new business liaison director to create better relationships between the city and the businesses in Palm Springs.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the individual that you had mentioned, it was like a newly created position.
That's great. So then for clarification, because in our agenda, Commissioner Horn is listed as a liaison for Grand Palm Springs. And Commissioner Rankin is also a liaison. We just need to clarify that. Maybe both of you work together on any of these events.
Okay,
That's fine.
So could I ask that either one of you or both of you might wanna suggest to Peter Simpkins, he's still the chair of one PS, maybe either or both of you might want to get on their agenda and do a presentation about the Human Rights Commission, who we are, what we do, how we can partner with them. Just a thought.
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, I know they've had other agencies, other organizations come up and make presentations towards the end of the meeting.
I'm unclear if I'm gonna represent the commission at this meeting, how we fit into the business. I don't know how to connect both.
Okay, so, yeah, I think for clarification, Commissioner Vaughn, the committee that you attended is a business committee, right? And it's a group that is organized and managed by the city. One PS, which is Organized Neighborhoods of Palm Springs, is our neighborhoods, our organized neighborhoods. And this is an organization that meets and talks about community events, issues, opportunities to get engaged. So there are a lot of businesses that participate in one PS, but it's about the neighborhoods and community, which is the key difference between the two of these things that we're discussing, if I get this right.
Okay, I was confused.
Yes, yes, it can be confusing because we use a lot of these terms and there's so many things that people get involved. So hopefully that will clarify it for you. But yes, it's important that we participate in these events, and thank you, Commissioner Reagan, for going to one PS. It's a very important organization, and yes, human rights should definitely be.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
add that, when the business districts are discussed, it's often referenced as just like one PS, but it's not one PS. So, the businesses are in the process of organizing themselves, and I think that was probably what you were part of, to form a business district, but it was not one PS, and, probably not, in the capacity as a human rights commissioner, more so in the capacity as a business person, so.
Great clarification, thank you, Jay.
You know, if we could partner with, not partner, if we could use one PS as a conduit to get things we want to see achieved for the Human Rights Commission. Because one PS, the value of one PS is that they represent the 51 neighborhoods and they speak with one voice. And city council and the city manager and the mayor listen to the one PS community because they know they're gonna go back to their 51 neighborhoods and report back. Now, not every neighborhood is as engaged as others, but they speak with one voice. So if you can get in front of one PS and say, hey, we are the Human Rights Commission and we are here to serve you, and this is what we could do for you. We need kind of your help. If you think there's value in having us do something for you, partner with us, be our voice when you speak to city council and the mayor and the city manager, say, hey, I live in Sunny Dunes and I understand there's a Human Rights Commission. I would really like them to be tasked with doing this for me. You know what I'm saying? So we can kind of not use them, but
Yeah.
engage with them to help us be more effective as a human rights. community.
Figuring out a way to get more engaged, I think that's key.
And they do have, I think it was last month, they had the new director of the Art Museum, really talk up the Art Museum. Yeah, I would be more than glad to do that. Tomorrow night is the meeting.
Mhm.
And, I've spoken and represented myself as a human rights commissioner, speaking to, Scott Stiles, speaking to, Ron
Rhonda.
Hersey, yeah, the mayor.
Oh,
You mean Ron Hart, the councilman?
No, Ron,
Jeffrey.
who's the interim mayor?
Jeffrey Bernstein.
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Bernstein,
Bernstein.
Jeffrey Bernstein, yeah.
Gonna be, coming there
He's already the mayor, isn't he? No?
tomorrow, is it this next council
Thursday.
meeting?
Thursdays?
Thursday.
But presenting myself as a.
So our new mayor.
She was very open.
Great.
They rotate the mayor.
Thank you for that. Thank
Okay.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's great. Excellent. Commissioner Floyd, anything to report on this or Highland Gateway State Community?
Nothing to report on that and nothing on veterans issues at this time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Flood. Anything on youth education affairs? Student?
No, but, Palm Springs Unified School District, it's finals week this week. Not fun. On top of that, it is, after this week, the next 3 weeks are winter break. First day back is the 8th.
Mhm.
I'm not excited already.
I remember those days. Thank you for that.
So I don't know if this goes on under youth education affairs standing committee. Or I should wait till agenda items for the next HRC meeting, but we still have an outstanding application from Rosario
We need to
Figueroa.
put it in the agenda for sure.
I think her,
Her name is Adriana.
Adriana.
Rosario is her mother.
oh, Rosario is their mother.
Yes.
Adriana,
Do you wanna put that on the agenda? for
we should
next?
definitely make that an agenda item.
Okay.
Yes, yes, I think that merits a discussion.
She was expecting an answer.
Yeah.
She only applied in August.
Yeah. We certainly-
Well, I mean, I sent my application for a student representative when I was like 8th grade. And I didn't get my acceptance like until a year later, so.
Okay,
So we'll make sure it's on the agenda.
we'll make it right for Adriana. We should make it right for Adriana. Excellent, thank you for that. Anything reporting mediation? On human rights, no mediation? Okay, we have no liaison at this time, so if anyone wants to take on mediation, just as a reminder that we could provide, access to the training, right? There's a training program to understand mediation and the services of mediation.
It was available. I'd have to check and see if that is still available.
Okay, if we can make a note, Jay, to just clarify if that's still available, that would be great. And this is an important thing because, one of us, and I believe Commissioner Flood is probably the only one at this time who has gone through the training and gotten certified in this program, to be able to intercede when mediation is necessary. Having said that, anything to report on equity or social justice committee? I wanted to make a point that from our last meeting, Commissioner Bobby Rimas raised his hand and he literally said that he wanted to be the liaison for, justice, right, social justice. So Commissioner Rimas? you wanna say
Yes,
something?
that is true. I am very interested in the position.
So become our liaison as part of leading that committee on, social justice.
Yes.
Is there anything that you'd like to bring to the commission, perhaps as a presentation for our next meeting in January?
Yes, I'll go ahead and write a proposal and submit it to Jay by this coming Friday to distribute some topics to discuss regarding the liaison position.
Wonderful, so we look forward to your presentation in January. And yes, you should definitely, based on your background and your expressed interest to be our liaison, should lead this. So thank you for that, Commissioner Reynolds.
All right, thank you.
Then we have, results of the survey for at-risk population. You wanna say something about that?
Yeah, I mean, we can combine B and C almost.
That's
but-
great, go for it.
So the results of the online survey, thank you everyone for responding to the survey. The 3 top at-risk population groups were as reflected in our draft SOP. The LGBTQIA+ community, the homeless community and older adults community. So you'll see in the draft attached document for consideration, rules and standard operating procedures. We've got really three things to talk about briefly. I know time is of the essence here. One is wanted to run by the full commission, the duties of the executive committee. That was Commissioner Rinke and I took a chance at streamlining it, but we came up with those 4 functions of the executive committee. If there's no objections, we'll leave those 4 in. This is on keeping the focus of the commission on fulfillment of its goals, setting the strategic vision of the commission, acting as a liaison with other city commissions, boards, and committees, and providing agenda items to the staff liaison in a timely manner sufficient to meet the agenda requirements in accordance with all laws and policies of the state of California and the city of Palm Springs.
David, where are you reading from?
Reading from the draft
There's quite a few
documents.
pages. Yeah.
Under organization structure, sorry, there aren't page numbers, but
Yeah,
until
They
we,
didn't paginate it.
Organization structure.
yeah,
Okay.
section
Rules
C,
of, rules of sections, no, you can follow.
almost page 2.
Yeah, second page.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4. See 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, there you
So again, this is strictly just the duties of the executive committee. Just to make it clear what the executive committee is responsible for doing. Everything else we kind of already have reviewed, except for now that we've identified our top 3 at-risk population groups, I've started to build out that section on what do we do with at-risk population groups and partners. That's the latter part of the document where what I would like to do is try to identify the partners for all of these at-risk communities, the groups and organizations out there that we might want to engage with. I started building that out for the LGBTQIA+ community and the homeless community. But I haven't done the older adults community. I kind of need assistance with this section.
We thought that this is really very time restricted. I mean, to put this in your rules and your standing rules and operating procedures. I mean, these homeless community liaison partners are gonna change. We have the navigation center in the next year or 2. I find this, a little disconcerting because it might not be current in the next year.
What might not be current?
The homeless community liaison partners or any.
Well, it's a living document. I mean, we cannot list any partners. I was trying to identify some to get I guess we need to have a conversation about what are we gonna do with these communities?
Can we make sort of a generic statement about it as opposed to specify who they
Sure,
are?
we don't have to specify any partners,
Or if we
but
do-
again, what do you want, what's the commission going to do with these? Now that we've identified these 3 at-risk population groups,
Mhm.
And then-
what are we doing with them? What's the commission want to do?
And what's the expected outcome of this commission with regards to the work and
I think when we
the
talk,
impact?
Commissioner Rinke, part of what we think is, and now we have these 3 groups. Maybe 1 or 2 commissioners get together and try to work with
Yeah.
somebody out there or at least liaison with them.
Which I have been doing with the homeless. I have
Right.
reported on them, yeah.
So maybe we just have to write up, what is it, in a general statement of what's what's the commission gonna do with these at-risk groups? So maybe-
So that's a really important point, Commissioner Rankin, because you have been actively engaging. And the question that Vice Chair Vigneault is bringing is also a relevant, which is, what's the outcome? What do we do with this? How do we impact? How do we create something positive? And how do we can say, we provide our reports to the city council that the commission has engaged with this issue? And do we have set recommendations? Do we bring something to their attention that they already don't know?
Well, I can tell you that, I go on more often than not with my name tag and Human Rights Commission. Phew, people open their arms, they talk to you. I've talked to the CD Rescue Mission and the people that work there and how they've turned their lives around. I've heard stories of recovery and redemption from the various nonprofits. There's the Wi-Fi people. I just want to say that there's an abundance number of in this particular space of collaboration amongst 9 or 10 different groups. And so they're glad that you're there and you're making yourself available, knowledgeable, you're representing human rights and you're kind of advocating for human rights just by really being there. So I'm making further connections with them, but any kind of specific recommendations or outcome, I think we'd have to think really carefully.
We do. And one thing that it just occurred to me, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. Maybe part of the work that we do is also looking at other cities and how other cities are dealing with the issue of homelessness. The kinds of projects they're funding, kinds of policies they're taking on. Maybe that's information that the commission can also bring and report and engage with these groups and organizations that are trying to solve the same problem. Commissioner Green?
I think by focusing in on 3 different communities, we have the opportunity for the various commissioners to form ad hoc committees or ladies and groups and basically come up with what you want to see happen in those. Commissioner Rankin is very involved in homeless. There may be some other people that are also very interested in that, or say for myself, I'm interested only in the mental illness component of that. I'm not really interested in all the other stuff that goes on. But I am interested in older adults and some of the issues that are there. But I think I also would like to have feedback from other commissioners that are interested in that, and what kinds of things are important for us to discuss. And I think that we need to really take some time to sit back and really determine what kinds of things and what kind of impact we can have on the community in terms of their human rights and making sure that they are not being violated through whatever policies and procedures are occurring throughout the town at this particular time. So I think, I don't think this is something we should be cavalier about or just say like, okay, here's a whole bunch of agencies, let's go talk to them. I think we really have to think this through, and I think that we should form groups of interest, formulate interest groups as commissioners and talk about it outside the meeting and then come back to the meeting and say, this is what we think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, 150.
I think I agree with you. We need to, for purposes of this document, all I'm trying to do is capture for future generations what it is we do.
Of commissioners.
Right. So, I think
I
I'm gonna remove the list of partners, because that will change from year to year. We don't.
Yeah.
It's too dynamic. What I'm trying to articulate in maybe the first 2 paragraphs is that now that we have these 3 communities, we're gonna have subgroups of commissioners engage with these communities, however they determine best.
Okay.
And report back on a quarterly basis? I'm just trying to give some kind of a structure,
Yeah.
so that if we all decided to resign tomorrow, the whole 9 new commissioners would
There's a
come in,
working
they'd have
document.
some kind of roadmap as to what they're supposed to
Whoever
do.
comes in into the commission
Like,
will
I'm
know.
basically trying to write a position description,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
and this is,
So
this is absolutely
take another look at that
great
section,
work.
ignore the partners part, and just think about if you were just gonna write a position description for commissioners on how to engage with these at-risk
That's,
groups, what tasks would you
that's a
expect they?
great way to look at this document. It's like, if none of us is here and someone is coming in tomorrow to be a part of the Human Rights Commission and is presenting with this document, how does that work? How does that help that person? A little bit as a roadmap, as an onboarding document.
Exactly, onboarding is a great term.
I think, right?
So-
Excellent, so
And we can change, and again, this is a living document, it's never designed to be the end all.
the last time it was revised was what,
1996.
96?
Yeah.
All right.
Your day.
So that's great progress, people. Okay.
You know, I would just like to add that in all these spaces, there is so much nonprofit activity going on. Just tons of it, and like, I got involved with CVAG, which is the Coachella Valley, group that is addressing homelessness, that gets money from the county. It gets money from Coachella Valley, it gets money from the city. I mean, there's really a lot of resources coming through and a lot of people trying to apply solutions. How do we kind of organize that as a human rights commissioner and be sure that we have a visibility and that, you know, we're
Well, that's
part
why
of the conversation?
I think you're probably the best equipped of all of us to give me the 4 or 5 things you're doing right now, and I could put it on paper. And so,
Okay,
you know, that's, you
May I?
can kind of, you're already doing it for the homeless community.
May I ask a technical, simple question?
Yeah.
You met initially to start work this project. Do you have plans to continue to meet to advance this or no?
No, we kind of thought we had finished and we agreed, let's first figure out the at-risk
Okay.
population groups through
So
the survey.
could we then ask all commissioners to send us feedback on this draft?
Yeah, it's really the last part, you know, again, trying to figure out,
So that we can continue to move
you know,
this
if you had a
document forward?
particular interest in one of these 3 groups, what kinds of tasks would you want to do?
Mhm.
Whether you do them or not, it's irrelevant. I just kind of want to put on paper just a few things that a commissioner, either present or future, might want to consider doing
Mhm.
in
So,
relation to these.
so if I can remind everyone, if you could send us feedback by December the 28th, that would be fantastic.
Then we can, hopefully we can adopt version 1 of this and every 6 months or a year.
We
review
review
it
it.
and
Mhm.
make changes as we evolve and learn.
All right, so because of time, I'd like to move to the next item if I could, which is the agenda items. We've identified a presentation by Commissioner Bobby Remus. That could be one of the items for the agenda. We also talked about how do we ask the council to consider the work of the commission with regards to reviewing and providing feedback and recommendations to future nonprofit proposals for funding, what is expected of us. Maybe that's the item for the executive committee to meet with our city manager for coffee. What did I miss?
The student representative,
Yes, and of course, the discussion on the student representative application. So that we can give Adriana, what's Adriana's last name?
Figueroa.
Figueroa.
Yeah, Adriana.
I think we also have to put on the agenda for January, an update on the community service award.
Yeah, like we have received.
And maybe by then we'll know more about the dinner.
What about the farmer's market? We wanna put
Well, we're
that,
gonna do the January 20th.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Will we do the
what's
calendar?
that?
Yeah, we'll do the,
Yeah.
it'll be on the, I'll update the calendar.
When we do the calendar updates. Excellent. Any additional announcements any commissioner would like to make?
Sorry.
I would just like to make sure that I'm on the agenda for the Social Justice Committee liaison position with a presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you presenting what you think the liaison should do? Or I'm not even clear that there is a,
He's
who
gonna-
are you liaison?
Who's gonna present us with a proposal?
Is there something, when you're liaisoning with? Is there a committee?
No, I'm going to go ahead and present that next month.
Okay.
That's his presentation. Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Yes, you are on the agenda. All right, so without further ado, can we adjourn? Do I have a vote? Someone motions to adjourn, Commissioner Horn, second? Second. Okay, Commissioner Foil. Let's take a quick vote. Those in favor say yay.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, I'd just like to adjourn, the commission will adjourn to a regular scheduled meeting on Monday, January 8th, 2024. I want to wish every single one of you a safe and happy holiday season. And we look forward to continuing the work of this commission in the coming years. So thank you very much for your leadership.
Commissioners, I would just add, starting January, it's very likely we will not be meeting, on Zoom. All the in-person meetings.
Thank you, Jen.
I know we've already kind of, have we adjourned?
We have adjourned.
Yeah.
Keep it for next month.
No, I'm just gonna ask, Jay, you got to update this entire commission on the proper use of the city email.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was
What your
just one they did.
expectation is.
Let's go
My
on the
email
agenda.
wasn't even right.
Let's put
I
that
don't know,
on the
I don't know whether
I
you use
just
the
logged into
personal
it.
email or the city email or what.
Can I just say, when we received that email from the city, there was an IT person contact. If you're having technical issues, please contact that person.
But you
I
can't-
figured it out, I just.
It's not an IT issue, it's when are
What?
we expected to use
From a
that?
policy,
email?
we can talk about in January.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We have adjourned.
You're on the hook, January
Thank
eighth,
you very much.
do a show and tell.
The city, council, I mean, when is the announcement gonna be made, did you say, for the community, service volunteers?
Once the three of us have talked to the nominees and confirmed verbally and all writing that they will accept the award,
Okay, but when,
not before that.
when is it given? You were saying it's in the city.
February
February.
12th,
February 12th, okay,
Monday, February 12th.
okay.
This